Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. Sean Fazende covers the black and gold for Fox 8, and he joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sean, thanks for the time. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing quite well. What is rookie minicamp?
Well, it's a bunch of first-year guys get together and mixed in with a few veterans that may not necessarily be on a rookie contract but are getting a tryout to come out. And they get together. It's a 3-day rookie minicamp. It's a non-padded practice. They work with the coaches for the first time, get on the field, get a very, very, very basic level of installation from offense to defense, try to get a feel for, how the ebb and flow of practice goes. And then I think this weekend it was 60 guys total, maybe, when you talk about the undrafted rookies, draft picks, and tryout guys. And then they just kind of get acclimated, almost like a freshman orientation, but on the NFL level.
Of those 60 guys, realistically, how many would you expect to be on the 53 for the first game?
Well, there's 7 draft picks. I don't know if every one of those guys are going to be on the 53 for the first game. You got your list of undrafted guys that generally produce 1, maybe 2 guys that will sneak on to the 53. Darian Hulker is the guy that seems to be standing out of that group. So I would guess, and this is just a ballpark figure, with the Saints this year, 7 or 8 of those guys would be on the 53-man roster when the season starts in week 1.
That's a bigger number than I thought. So that's interesting. So, all right, let's talk about some of the bigger name guys that were out there, and I guess we'll start with the first rounder. You're looking at a big old offensive tackle in Taliese Fuaga. How do you look?
He looked good. Actually, physically, he actually looked a little bit leaner than I had anticipated. I felt like I saw him at the Senior Bowl. He just felt a little bit heavier. He said he was at 325, which is a little bit lighter than what he played with last year at Oregon State, where I think he crept to about 330. But he was playing over on the left side, which is huge news, or significant news. The Saints know he can play right tackle, but they're trying to cross-train him at left tackle to see if he could play there. Certainly was a little bit of a surprise, but not it's nothing etched in stone. It's just one of those things where the Saints are going to see what he does on the left side. He admitted he was a little bit rusty on that left side. He compared it to driving on a different side of the highway or the wrong side of the highway. And I've always talked to veteran offensive linemen who said the same thing. Going from right to left is way more difficult than people realize. So they're trying to see if he can do it and how good he can be at it. They know he can always fall back and be the right tackle if necessary. But this is just a clear sign that the Saints are doing everything possible to find their best 5, no matter where those 5 end up, just to get those best 5 up from the offensive line ready to go. Because obviously, with this new offense and quarterback Derek Carr, you need to have a good offensive line. And I think there were times last year where that wasn't the case. And this year, they want to make sure they get the right 5. And we'll see what happens. But it just goes to show you that they are at least open to options when it comes to Fuaga.
Probably the biggest name, Spencer Rattler, because of the position that he plays, obviously, at quarterback. What'd you see from the young signal caller this weekend?
Thought he was solid. I really did. From a stature-wise, he was about what I thought he would be, just a shade over 6 foot. Seems to see the field well. I said it when he was drafted, and it kind of was reiterated this weekend. He's got a good base to work with. It just feels like the nuances, the fundamentals of the game, he feels like he won't have to spend a whole lot of time on that. It feels like he's got that part down. It's just a question of how good can he get, where is his ceiling, and I felt like rookie minicamp, he was pretty solid. I mean, he worked the first and second level well, 0 to 10 and 11 to 20-yard part of the field. Really saw the middle of the field well, which is something that you don't always see when it comes to college quarterbacks, especially when you first get into the rookie minicamp, your first day on the job, so to speak. He wasn't perfect. He dropped the snap, and I thought there was a couple throws in that 18 to 20-yard dig range where ball kind of fell apart on him. But for the most part, looked like he had command of the huddle, and just feels like from a fundamental standpoint, he's got that part down. So I think it's going to be a good battle between Jake Haener and Spencer Rattler for QB2 this season.
Yeah, let's break that down, the backup quarterback, and how does Tamm Hill kind of factor into the decisions that they make with those two players?
Tamm Hill is going to – there's a Taysom position that's his. That's a hybrid of tight end, quarterback, and slot receiver, whatever the H-back, whatever the case may be. And there'll be certain days where they get some work for him in at quarterback. And obviously with a new offensive coordinator, they may want to mix in a little more, a little less. Who knows? It really depends on how Clint Kubiak feels. But it's going to be curious to see how they divvy up the reps with 4 quarterbacks that aren't named Taysom Hill. You talk about Carr, you talk about Haener, and now Spencer Rattler, and of course Nathan Peterman. So I think that's something to really watch going forward. How many reps do these guys get? Because that'll kind of determine how you can evaluate those guys. So I guess it's all to be determined. But in regards to Taysom Hill, it's just one of those situations where he'll have a day or two where they'll kind of sprinkle him in at the quarterback position, but I still think he'll be training all over the field like he typically does.
You mentioned Darian Hulker, the tight end from Colorado State, as a guy who stood out. What did you see from him?
Moves well, just seems to have a good feel for where he's supposed to be on the field, seems to have a nice just kind of feel for spacing, which is a lot of what tight ends have to do when you talk about the blocking aspect, the block and release. Certain releases when you got to work the underneath the crosser or get into that 7 route or seam route that they like to run, and he ran a lot of that at Colorado State. Just feels like he was the guy they pinpointed after the draft to really get that guy in the undrafted ranks. They spent a lot of money to get him, and I just think he's someone they envisioned that could certainly make the roster or be a high-end practice squad player that could eventually get on the roster within the season. We've seen that before, but I think he's got a good feel for where he's supposed to be on the football field. And look, it's rookie minicamp, so you don't want to jump to any conclusions. But given the depth of that position and maybe his skill set, maybe he can bring a little something to that group that maybe is missing a little bit.
Chatting with Sean Fazende, Fox 8 down in New Orleans, talking Saints rookie minicamp, which took place back over the weekend. Kool-Aid McKinstry is the guy they traded up to get. What did you see from the Alabama product?
Didn't participate because he's still dealing with the foot injury. Talked to him after. He seems to like being down here with the Saints and getting accustomed to everything. But he, along with Jalen Ford and Josiah Ezram, the 7th-round pick, dealing with minor injuries, so they were not on the field.
What do you think the plan is for Kool-Aid McKinstry and as far as where he plays in the secondary and maybe the future? And obviously that discussion kind of starts with Marshawn Lattimore, I would guess.
Yeah, that's where it starts. So if Marshawn's back, then you have Marshawn Lattimore and Paulson Adebo. Those are your 2 outside guys. I think that's pretty set. If he's not back, then you have a greater discussion of whether or not Alontae Taylor kicks outside or Kool-Aid is able to compete on the outside. But I think initially, they haven't come out and said this, but I think they can certainly, if they're cross-training a first-round pick, Taliese Fuaga, they can certainly do it with Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think he's a guy that initially can battle Alontae Taylor for the nickel position because, there were spurts last season where Taylor got benched because of poor play at that nickel position. He's been very open about how nickel has been difficult for him. He's a more natural outside player. So I think initially, if everyone's back, I think Kool-Aid can compete to be the nickel. But if not, this team is in dime a lot, especially on 3rd down. They use a lot of 60Bs, so there's a chance he can get on the field in that regard as well.
This has nothing to do with rookie minicamp. It's just a question I'm curious about as you cover the team. Are they going to have some competition at punter and kicker come August? Because it just obviously wasn't great last year.
They absolutely should, and they brought in an Irish kicker, and they brought in a kicker, I believe, from a punter from Australia. They played at Vanderbilt last year, so I believe there absolutely should be a competition. And I'm going back over some offensive tape right now from last year, and there's 3 games last year where some better field goal kicking. You got a couple of extra wins. The Houston game, a couple other games that'll come to me a little bit later, but that's just one that jumps off. Just in terms of better specialist play, could certainly help in terms of wins and losses. So yeah, I think if one of those punters or kickers come out and they're able to outshine the incumbents, much like the incumbents now did with the previous incumbents, I think there could be a switch at those positions.
Schedule release comes out later this week on Wednesday. What are you looking for there?
Always look to see where the bye week is. I love a middle of the season bye week. But 2 years ago, it was like middle of December, which was it ruined all advantage you would have for a bye week because by the time they got to it, they were already too far in the hole to dig themselves out and use a bye week to their advantage. That's the main thing. Who's the primetime game? I think we were talking in the office, maybe 3 this year. I know last year was 2 Thursdays and a Monday, but I think they'll have their Thursday. I think I just got a feeling Peyton coming back to New Orleans could be a primetime game. Yeah. So over under, I'm gonna set it at 3 right there for primetime games, and then any cold weather games, and see who they open with. That's about it. I guess we'll figure it out on Wednesday, but it's always that interesting time of year because, it sets the calendar for a lot of us for the rest of 2024.
NFL always finds a way to find itself into the news cycle, so they'll release that schedule coming up later on this week. Sean, we really appreciate some time. Thanks.
All right, bud.
Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, Help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.